So after the appalling rainy weather in Cannes in the south of France at the film festival, I decided that I'd drive down to Rome in Italy, where it would be guaranteed to be glorious sunshine because it always is. My mistake. Middle May was obviously not a good month for the whole of southern Europe. It was pouring with rain all the way down from Cannes to Rome, and even in Rome the rain was coming down in buckets. Now, as it happened, that was rather a good thing because I found that the queues, which have built up unbelievably to get into the Sistine Chapel and St. Peter's and all the places in the Vatican and all the churches, which normally you take 3 or 4 hours to wait standing in line, now only were completely empty because the rain was coming down so heavily. And I managed to park the Rolls Royce within inches of St. Peter's and sat in it whilst the rain was bucketing down. The moment the rain stopped, I leapt out of the car, locked it up and ran to the front of the queue, which had almost not begun. As a result, I was able to get in a couple of minutes. And it is as impressive as it always was. But it's about 30 years since I've been into St. Peter's, and I have to tell you, it's unbelievable. The first thing you notice is, whereas there used to be hundreds of people there, now there are literally thousands. The place is absolutely packed. You really can't move. It's quite stunning to look at it. Secondly, I noticed that it's virtually impossible to take any photographs in there because, of course, the flash illuminates your face and not very much else. So everything in the background disappears, and it's absolutely impossible to get pictures of things like the Pieta, which again is also now covered by or fronted by bulletproof glass, since a madman went and broke the Madonna's nose some years ago. And that's the other frightening thing, that you can no longer touch a lot of the great exhibits. Even so, you look at it and Michelangelo's work is so unbelievable and impressive. When you think 500, 600, 700 years ago, was it now? He was up there painting on the ceiling, carving the sculptures, doing things that were just unbelievable. And I have to say, you leave St. Peter's and the Vatican with an even greater appreciation of the incredible genius that is Michelangelo. Rome in general, however, is really falling to bits, I think. The whole infrastructure is gone. Traffic is horrendous. I like to stay out near Tivoli, which is a fabulous place to go and see if you're ever in Rome, by the way. And the drive usually used to take about 20 minutes from the centre of Rome to where I stay in Tivoli. These days it takes 2 hours. The traffic is solid most of the day, certainly for large chunks of the day. It was quite interesting to me to notice that in the good old days in Italy, people used to rush up to the big red Rolls Royce and stroke it and say, "Che bella macchina, what a beautiful car." These days, it's all changed. Every single person who looks at it is obviously very impressed, but the only thing they ask is, how much does that cost? Now that to me shows how the world has changed in the last 30 or 40 years. Beauty has now gone out the window. Cost is what matters. The entire infrastructure seems to have collapsed. The Grande Raccordo Anulare, which is the road round the edge, is absolutely traffic blocked. It's like a parking lot right the way along all the time. I went to Ostia, which is one of my great favourite places, and always was, and it's become very grand over the last few years. I've not seen it recently. Even the black sand that used to be there from the volcanoes has sort of been replaced by white sand, and it's now all very elegant. It used to be rather tacky, although incredibly charming, but now it's really quite upper class and posh. However, it was lovely, and I was actually welcomed with open arms by a man at the restaurant I used to go to all the time, who gave me a huge hug, said, "My goodness, it's 40 years you've been coming here," and gave me an entirely free lunch. That was rather nice. Back in Rome, I did manage to see inside various other churches, and I've got to say, it really is spectacular. That's one of the great things that the rain all the time did. I managed to see some of the Bernini's sculptures are almost as good as Michelangelo. You have to say, when you see them, he was also a stunning artist, well worth looking at. And the Bernini, the church where the Bernini, I think it's a Saint Teresa statue that I was really impressed by. Near there is the Grand Hotel where I used to stay in. And I remember once when I had loads of money, I used to take the entire luxury suite that stretched right the way down the first floor of the Grand Hotel. My bedroom overlooking the Piazza della Repubblica, and the other bedrooms scattered out with bathrooms and everything. And I was only there with a friend. I don't know, God knows why I wanted to spend all that money on an entire floor. Anyway, while I was there, apparently, Aristotle Onassis turned up out of the blue and demanded his favourite suite. To which the concierge told him, "I'm afraid, Mr. Onassis, you can't have it. It's occupied." "Occupied?" said Onassis. "Who's in it?" "Jonathan King," said the concierge. To which Aristotle Onassis asked, "Who is Jonathan King?" I've always found that absolutely wonderful. Aristotle Onassis once asked who I was. Rome is still gorgeous, but it's not what it used to be. It's really dirty, graffiti everywhere, the streets are filthy. It's still fabulous to see, but it's not like it was 30 years ago when Aristotle Onassis once asked, "Who is Jonathan King?"